The tranquility of Deep Space Station Proxima shattered as warning signals flooded the monitoring screens. Lieutenant Dren's crystalline appendages trembled as they traced across the holographic display, their natural bioluminescence flickering with anxiety. The energy signature approaching their sector was unlike anything registered in the station's database. Director Nerith. Dren's voice resonated through their speech chambers, the natural harmonic tones of their species betraying their concern. Unknown vessel detected in restricted space. Power readings are unprecedented. Director Nerith glided across the command center, her iridescent exoskeleton reflecting the pulsing emergency lights. Years of experience managing the Proxima border station hadn't prepared her for this moment. The vessel's signature was unmistakable, human military design. Magnification maximum, she ordered, her secondary eyes focusing on the tactical display while her primary set monitored the crew's reactions. The image crystallized, revealing a sleek warship that seemed to absorb the very starlight around it. Its hull bore markings unlike any human vessel previously documented in their archives. Officer Jex, the station's senior tactical analyst, manipulated the sensor arrays with his neural interfaces. Director, the vessel's power core. It's operating on principles we've only theorized about. Their shielding technology appears to be generations ahead of our most advanced designs. The command center hummed with nervous energy as more data poured in. The human chip's presence violated multiple treaties, but its capabilities made any conventional response potentially catastrophic. The last documented encounter between human and Proximan forces had ended in a diplomatic crisis that took decades to resolve. Open emergency channels to Central Command, Nerith ordered, her crystalline form shifting to its formal configuration, and prepare a first contact protocol. Officer Vel, begin broadcasting standard peaceful identification sequences. The massive screens surrounding them displayed the human vessel's steady approach. Its weapon systems remained inactive, but the sheer potential energy readings from its core told a story of devastating capability. The crew watched as Vel's transmission pulses reached out across the void. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours. The human ship maintained its course, neither accelerating nor showing signs of aggression. Finally, the communication array chimed with an incoming response. "This is Captain James of the Earth vessel Hyperion." A calm voice filled the command center. "We acknowledge your transmission, Deep Space Station Proxima. We request emergency diplomatic channels." Nerith's secondary eyes widened. In 15 cycles of service, no human vessel had ever requested diplomatic contact. Their encounters had been limited to long-range observations and carefully negotiated trade routes. "Captain James, this is Director Nerith. Your presence in this sector violates the Arcturus Accords. Please state your purpose." She kept her tone neutral, though her exoskeleton's color shifted slightly with tension. "Director," James replied, his voice carrying an urgency that transcended species barriers, "we're tracking a group of rogue elements who have stolen experimental technology from both our civilizations. They're using Proximan stealth systems combined with human quantum drives. If they succeed in combining these technologies, the balance of power in this sector will be irreversibly altered." The command center fell silent. Dren's appendages moved rapidly across the tactical displays, confirming the impossible, traced signatures of both human and Proximan technology, moving away from the sector at speeds that shouldn't have been achievable. "We have no record of such technology being stolen," Nerith responded carefully, though she noted several recent irregularities in their security logs that suddenly seemed more significant. "Because someone doesn't want you to find them," James said. "Director, I'm prepared to share classified intelligence that proves what I'm saying. But we need to act quickly. Those rogues are heading toward the Void Nexus, and if they reach it..." Nerith understood the implications. The Void Nexus, a region of space where normal physics broke down, could hide a fleet of ships indefinitely. If someone was combining their species' technologies illegally, that would explain the recent surge in unexplained phenomena along their borders. "Stand by, Captain," she said, her mind racing through protocols and possibilities. "We'll need verification from our command structure before." The station's sensors suddenly screamed to life. Multiple ships were decloaking around them, vessels that showed the same hybrid signatures as the ones the humans were pursuing. The situation had just become far more complicated than a simple treaty violation. The first shots were fired before anyone could react, but they didn't come from the human vessel. Instead, the hybrid ships opened fire on both the station and the Hyperion, their weapons displaying devastating effectiveness against Proximan shields. As alarms blared and her crew rushed to battle stations, Nerith made a decision that would change the course of two civilizations. "Captain James," she broadcast, "it appears we have a common enemy." Initiating emergency defense protocols and requesting immediate tactical coordination. The human captain's response was immediate. "Acknowledged, Director. Let's show these pirates what happens when they unite our species against them." The combined defensive formation of Deep Space Station Proxima and the Hyperion held steady as the hybrid ships pressed their attack. Through the chaos of battle, Officer Jex's neural interfaces captured data that painted a disturbing picture. "Director Nerith, these weapon signatures," he called out, his crystalline form pulsing with alarm. "They're using restricted Proximan plasma modulators, but they've been enhanced with human targeting systems. The configuration codes, they're bearing official Proximan security signatures." Captain James's voice crackled through the command center. "We're seeing the same thing. These aren't just stolen technologies. They've been deliberately integrated. Someone with high-level access in both our governments made this possible." The hybrid ships moved with terrifying precision, their attacks systematically testing the defenses of both the station and the Hyperion. Each volley revealed more about their origins and the conspiracy behind them. Lieutenant Dren worked frantically at the security console. "Director, I've traced the authorization codes. They're linked to Admiral Jareth's command protocols." The name hung in the air like a toxic gas. Admiral Jareth was third in command of the entire Proximan Defense Force. The Hyperion executed a perfect evasive maneuver, its advanced shields absorbing a barrage that would have crippled a lesser vessel. "We have similar findings," James reported. "Components from Earth's Restricted Weapons Research Division. Only someone with Council clearance could have accessed them." Nerith's exoskeleton shifted to its combat configuration as she processed the implications. "This isn't just theft. It's an orchestrated attempt to spark a war between our species. The treaty violations, the strategic placement of these attacks." "Agreed," James responded. "These ships are trying to force us into firing on each other. Classic false flag operation." His tactical officer's voice could be heard in the background, reporting multiple incoming missiles. The station shuddered as another volley struck their shields. Officer Vell's voice cut through the chaos. "Director, I'm detecting encrypted transmissions between the hybrid ships and a secure terminal in our own command center. Lock down all communications," Nerith ordered, her secondary eyes scanning the crew. "Initiate Security Protocol 7 Beta. Everyone's credentials are now suspect." The human captain's next transmission carried a note of grim determination. "Director, request permission to send a security team to your station. We have specialized equipment that can trace these transmissions to their source." It was an unprecedented request. Allowing armed humans onto a Proximan military installation would violate dozens of protocols. But as another explosion rocked the station, Nerith realized conventional protocols no longer applied. "Granted, Captain. But we do this together. Lieutenant Dren, assemble a joint security team. Officer Jex, continue monitoring those hybrid ships. Their attack pattern is too precise. They're following some kind of predetermined strategy." The battle continued as the joint human Proximan security team began their investigation. The hybrid ships maintained their assault, but their true purpose became clearer with each passing moment. They were buying time for something bigger. "Director," Jex called out, his neural interfaces streaming tactical data. "I'm detecting massive energy buildups in the hybrid ship's quantum drives. The signatures matched theoretical models for dimensional displacement. Captain James's response was immediate. They're not trying to destroy us. They're creating a diversion. Whatever they stole, they're about to transport it somewhere we can't follow. Or they're bringing something here, Nerith added, her combat intuition screaming warnings. Captain, can your sensors penetrate the quantum interference they're generating? Negative, but our science officer has a theory. If we combine your crystalline sensor arrays with our quantum imaging technology. Before he could finish, Lieutenant Dren's voice cut through the command channel. Director, Captain, we found something. The encrypted transmissions, they're carrying embedded quantum signatures. Someone's been feeding them real-time tactical data about both our defense systems. The pieces were falling into place, revealing a conspiracy more dangerous than either species had imagined. As the hybrid ships continued their carefully choreographed attack, the Joint Security Team raced to uncover the traitors in their midst before whatever was being planned reached its final stage. Nerith's exoskeleton pulsed with determination. Captain James, I'm authorizing full data sharing between our systems. We need to find out what these ships are really here for, and we need to do it before. The station's sensors suddenly registered a massive quantum disturbance. The space between the hybrid ships began to twist and distort, reality itself seeming to bend. Energy readings off the scale. Jex shouted, "They're creating some kind of artificial quantum rift." As both human and Proximan crews watched in horror, the rift began to stabilize, revealing what appeared to be a portal to somewhere else. The real question was, were they trying to let something out, or let something in? The quantum rift pulsed with unnatural energy, casting eerie shadows across Deep Space Station Proxima's command center. Through their neural interfaces, Officer Jex monitored readings that defied conventional physics. "The rift is stabilizing," he reported, his crystalline form vibrating with the dimensional distortions. "But these energy patterns, they're creating a bridge between normal space and something else." Captain James's voice carried tightly controlled tension. The stolen technology was never the real objective. They needed our quantum drives and your crystalline matrices to build this gateway. Emergency alerts suddenly blared through both the station and the Hyperion. From within the rift, something massive was emerging, a vessel that dwarfed even the hybrid ships. Its design was neither human or Proximan, but rather something ancient and alien. By the first stars, Lieutenant Dren whispered, their bioluminescence dimming in shock. Those markings, they matched the artifacts from the Forbidden Archives. Director Nerith's secondary eyes widened in recognition. The precursor files, the ones Admiral Jareth ordered sealed 50 cycles ago. She turned to the main communication array. "Captain James, what do your records say about the precursor civilization?" "Only fragments," James responded. "Ancient race, vanished mysteriously, left behind technology we still can't comprehend. Earth's Council classified all research into their artifacts as top secret after an incident 20 years ago." The Joint Security Team's channel suddenly crackled to life. "Director, Captain, we've found the source of the encrypted transmissions. It's coming from Science Officer Kraft's quarters." Kraft, Nerith's most trusted scientific advisor for the past decade. The betrayal struck like a physical blow, but there was no time for personal feelings. The massive precursor vessel had fully emerged from the rift, its surface covered in symbols that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "All ships maintain defensive positions," Nerith ordered, forcing calm into her voice. "Captain James, can your quantum sensors detect any signs of life aboard that vessel?" "Negative," James replied. "But we're picking up massive energy readings. Whatever that ship is, it's powering up some kind of." His transmission cut off as a pulse of energy erupted from the precursor vessel, washing over both the station and the Hyperion. Every system momentarily flickered. And then, "Director," Jex called out in alarm. "Our defensive systems, they're reconfiguring themselves. The precursor ship is rewriting our base code. Similar reports came from the Hyperion. The ancient vessel wasn't attacking. It was reprogramming their technology, integrating itself into their systems. The hybrid ships moved into formation around it, their combined technologies creating a network that began to spread through both human and Proximan space. This was their plan, Nerith realized, watching as the infection spread. Not war between our species, but submission to something older, something that sees us both as primitive children to be controlled. The Joint Security Team had reached Kraft's quarters, finding not just evidence of betrayal, but a shrine to the precursors. The science officer had been part of a cult that worshipped the ancient race, believing they would return to guide younger species to enlightenment. Director, Captain James's transmission returned, his voice grave. We're detecting similar signals from multiple stations in both our territories. This isn't isolated. It's a coordinated takeover attempt. The precursor vessel's influence continued to grow, its ancient technology demonstrating why its creators had once ruled this part of the galaxy. But as Nerith watched her station's systems falling under external control, she noticed something unexpected. The crystalline matrices, she said suddenly. They're not just being rewritten, they're learning, adapting. Captain, what's the status of your quantum core? The same, James replied, understanding dawning in his voice. The precursor programming is complex, but it's based on assumptions about how our technology works. Assumptions that might be wrong, Nerith finished. They didn't account for how our technologies would evolve together during this crisis. Officer Jex, initiate emergency protocol fusion. Captain James, have your systems ready to synchronize with ours. It was a desperate gamble, combining human quantum mechanics with Proximan crystalline technology in ways neither species had attempted before. But as the precursor vessel continued its attempt to dominate their civilizations, it was their only chance. The future of both species now depended on whether they could turn their greatest differences into their strongest advantage. The combined power of human quantum technology and Proximan crystalline matrices surged through both Deep Space Station Proxima and the Hyperion. Officer Jex's neural interfaces glowed with unprecedented energy as the two systems merged into something entirely new. Integration at 80%, he reported. The precursor vessel's control protocols are encountering unexpected resistance. The ancient ship's attempts to dominate their systems faltered as it encountered hybrid defenses it couldn't comprehend. Captain James's tactical officer reported similar results. Their programming is complex, but rigid. It can't adapt to our combined technologies fast enough. Director Nerith watched as her station's crystalline cores resonated with the Hyperion's quantum fields, creating interference patterns that disrupted the precursor vessel's influence. We're not just fighting back, she realized. We're learning their secrets. Through their merged systems, they began to understand the true nature of the precursor civilization. Not gods or saviors, but conquerors who had seeded their technology throughout the galaxy, waiting for younger species to advance enough to activate it. Multiple quantum rifts detected, Lieutenant Dren called out. Similar vessels emerging in other sectors, but our combined defense protocols are spreading faster. The hybrid ships that had served as pawns in this scheme found their stolen technology turned against them. The Joint Security Team, led by both human and Proximan officers, had reached the station's core, preventing Krath and his cultist allies from sabotaging their efforts. Captain James's voice carried newfound respect. Director, we're registering cascade failures throughout the precursor network. Their entire system is collapsing under our counterattack. The massive ancient vessel, for all its advanced technology, had never encountered species who could work together so effectively. Its attempts to divide and conquer had instead forced humans and Proximans to overcome their differences and create something stronger than either civilization alone. All stations, execute final protocol, Nerith ordered. The combined fleet launched a synchronized attack, their weapons enhanced by shared technology. The precursor vessel's defenses, designed to counter either human or Proximan attacks, couldn't withstand their unified assault. As the ancient ship began to break apart, its quantum rift collapsed, taking with it the dreams of those who had worshipped its creators. The hybrid ships, their crews realizing their master's defeat, surrendered to the joint fleet. In the aftermath, Director Nerith and Captain James met in person for the first time in Proxima's main conference chamber. Their victory had revealed corruption in both governments, but had also shown the potential of their species working together. "The precursors thought our differences made us weak," James said, looking out at the debris field that had once been their ancient enemy. "Instead, those differences saved us all." Nerith's exoskeleton shifted to its formal configuration. Perhaps that's why they really vanished. They couldn't adapt, couldn't grow. They could only dominate. The joint fleet had already begun sharing their defensive innovations with other stations and ships. What had started as a crisis had become the foundation for a new era of cooperation between their civilizations. "The real question," James mused, "is what we do with everything we've learned about their technology." "We do better than they did," Nerith answered. "We use it to build bridges, not barriers, together." As cleanup operations began, both human and Proximan crews worked side by side, their recent battle having forged bonds stronger than any treaty. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, not despite their differences, but because of them. The threat of the precursors had been ended, but the real victory was in what would come next, a future where two very different species had learned they were stronger together than apart.